All right. Yeah, we're good to go. All right. A very, very good evening to you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good, 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 good. One more time, we want to appreciate all our friends that are joining in. Reach out to your friends and family. They don't want to miss the fireworks that we have planned this evening. We have a great man, an accomplished journalist, an award-winning journalist, a known journalist that is going to be a blessing to us this evening. I tell you, it's a major privilege to have him with us this evening. And I want you to get yourself ready so that we can, the opportunity we have for this 1 hour, we want to make the very best use of it. So, sir, you are welcome to Seasons. We want to appreciate you for being with us. And as we usually do when we get on Seasons, we like our guests to feel comfortable. And the first thing we want to ask you is, please introduce yourself to us, to the multitude that are listening, and the people that will still yet watch this all over the world. So please introduce yourself to us, sir.
My name is Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. I am a journalist.
All right, I think the network issues, okay. All right.
I became editor of the news magazine on October 4th, 2005. I left the news magazine as its editor on May 30, 2013, and then joined TVC News as its home news editor. As home news editor, I was in charge of all stories generated within the borders of Nigeria.
Wow. Wow.
And after 1.5 years as home news editor, the owners of TVC decided to start a Nigerian channel, a Nigerian news channel. Because before then, we had the international channel with the pay line through African Eyes, and then the entertainment channel. So they decided that the time was ripe to start a Nigerian news channel like Channels TV.
Wow.
And then that was put to bed on October 1st, 2014.
Wow.
And I became the head of the channel. So I started that channel, which is what you have today, TVC News. I started it from the scratch, recruited the staff, and we've been doing well since then. In November 2018, I was promoted to the rank of a director in the company, and my responsibility changed. I became the group controller, current and public affairs of the company, which put me in charge of content, political content, as well as revenue generating content in the company, what we call the revenue generating programs. So, and that is the job that I still do today. And we started the wave making journalist hangout in 2014 as a way of preparing Nigerians for the 2015 election and getting them to be able to make informed choices by analyzing the politics of that time and talking about those who are likely to win, talking about those who deserve to win, and warning the voters about the tricks that politicians play in an election year as our own contribution to good governance and helping the voter to make informed choices. So we were able to make many predictions that came to pass. And for that reason, there was an overwhelming view. The preponderance of the opinion of viewers at that time was that the journalist hangout should not be rested, even though it was created for the election. We called it at that time E15, election 2015. So the viewers told us that they would want the program to continue in another name, you know, without necessarily changing the form. So after several meetings with the directors of the company and young people, young but brilliant people in the company, we decided to rename the program Journalist Hangout.
Wow.
The wish of our people to have the program continued was fulfilled, and that's where we are today. The program has made each and every one of us who takes part in it popular, and across the world, people trust us to discuss the problems of Nigeria in a very dispassionate and honest manner. And we are happy to be where we are, and we are happy to be so loved by Nigerians. And we do not take the love of Nigerians for granted. We want to continue to do that which pleases the Nigerian people. And we want to continue to do our work with the fear of God, because that is most important.
Wow, 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 wow. I must say, sir, that I actually got connected to you. It was last year when I flew in for the election, and the election was cancelled. I was very upset. I was very annoyed. And then you came online and you started to analyze everything that was happening. And amazingly, I was like, this man is just so calm. The way you were picking stuff and the way you were talking, I'm telling you that really made an impression. And when I was discussing with my team that you are going to be the one that we're going to have on this evening, one of my team members, Yomi, was saying that, wow, that's my favorite journalist, journalist hangout. He just went on and on and on. We're so glad to have you. The first question we want to throw at you, sir, is why did you get into journalism? Why, of the many things that you could have done? Because obviously listening to you over the years, we know that you are quite an intelligent man. So what led to why journalism? What was it that made you to follow that path?
Yeah, when I was growing up, I liked to read newspapers. I was already sold to newspaper reading.
Wow.
At the age of 7. My dad would buy newspapers, and as soon as he brought them home, I would get hold of those newspapers and I will read and read until they chased me away to go and read my own books. So I enjoyed reading those newspapers, and sometimes I will ask my mom to tell me what I didn't know about some of the columnists of that era. There were so many columnists of that era that I still remember. Though I was in primary school reading the articles of those columnists, but I still remember many of them. Alfred Ilenre.
Wow.
Dan Ikunaye of Herald in those days. And the man they call Candido. Candido, the man behind the mask. Candido is the very influential cousin of President Buhari, the one they call Mama Ndaura. He was a columnist with the New Nigerian newspapers.
Wow.
He was a fantastic satirist. He had a very good style as a satirist. And I used to read, I would look at his caricature and I would say, does this man really look like this? As a little boy, does this man really look like this? Or some artists were just trying to poke fun. So I continued to read columnists, and then later on, I became interested in football. I began to read reports of football games. So I enjoyed reading the reports of football games as written by Segun Adenoga of the Herald of those days. Segun Adenoga, and as I grew older, people like Michel Obi of The Guardian, Joseph Okujeni, also of The Guardian, Chris Okoje of The Vanguard.
Wow.
They became the fantastic sports writers of that time. So I told myself that I would like to become a journalist. I would like to report sports because I was quite good at soccer, the history of soccer and all that. So as I grew older, I became more and more interested in journalism. So when I got to the university, I immediately joined the press club.
Wow.
At the University of Ilorin, the press club was Waves Press Club. And after 1 year, I became the editor of Waves Press Club. And through Waves Press Club, I began to fight for change in the university, fight for change, condemn our female colleagues who are promiscuous. We will go and lay ambush at Kwara Hotel for them. We will wait until they are taken away by their patrons, and then we'll go back to school to ask the rhetorical question. Where was May so between the hours of so? And then they will rush to my room to say, please, do not publish this.
We know you are behind it.
We know that you caught us red-handed, but please do not publish. We promise you we will not do it again. We promise you that from today we'll become good girls. On some occasions, I will forgive. On some other occasions,
wow.
I'm putting a story on the Waves bulletin board. So at that point, I told myself that whatever happens, I must become a journalist. So as soon as I got to the NYC camp, I had been writing articles for the Herald newspaper, even as a student in the university.
Accepted.
People like Dakpolo Yomi, who was one of the editors of Herald newspaper. In my third year in the university, he was already receiving articles from me and publishing. His wife, Ladi Oloriyomi, was in charge of the arts page at the Herald newspaper in Ilorin, and I was already a regular contributor of poems and articles about arts for her page. I was already also contributing sports stories. So by the time I got to the NYC camp, I had begun to send stories because I was posted to Kaduna State to serve. So I then told myself that I needed to serve in a media house. So I was sending stories about events in the NYC camp. I was sending some stories to the Democrat newspaper.
Mm.
At that time, the editor of Democrat newspaper was Abba Kyari, who
Wow.
became the chief of staff to the president. Yes.
Really?
So, yes, I was sending stories to the editor.
Wow.
And they ran a few of my stories while I was in the NYC camp.
Wow.
But my wish to be posted to a media house was not fulfilled.
Mm.
I was eventually posted to Kaduna Polytechnic to teach general studies.
Wow. Wow.
It hurt me at that time, but I told myself that I would do whatever it takes to become a journalist. So even as a general studies teacher during my youth service, I continued to contribute articles, to write stories about boxing, about football, and the rest. So by the time the youth service ended, and the Democrat newspaper, owned by the late Samuel Afuntua, who died
some few weeks ago.
Yes.
Yes.
He was the managing director and financier of the Democrat newspaper. By the time they were ready to recruit, and I brought my curtains to the interview panel, they just told me, no. We don't need to interview you. You are already employed. You are like a member of the family already.
Wow.
So I didn't do any interview. That was how I got the job. And when they were going to start the news magazine, the editors of the news magazine used to be editors of African Concord. And then Abiola told them to apologize for publishing an article that embarrassed, in inverted commas, the then military president, Ibrahim Babangida. And they said, no, we are not going to apologize. So they had to leave African Concord in anger, and then went on to start the news magazine.
Wow.
When they started the news, when they were recruiting for the news magazine, Dapo Olorunyomi, who had known me from my school days as a contributor to Herald newspaper, came for me.
Wow.
He said, Jide, you need to work with us. I didn't do an interview. I got into the news as the Akano correspondent.
Wow.
I also want to add that when I joined the Democrats, within 1.5 years, I became the chairman of his correspondent chapel. And I was, as a Yoruba boy, it was thought unthinkable that I would defeat an Hausa Fulani candidate
for the post.
Yes, I defeated Abu Shekara, who is a PAMSEC today in Sokoto State. I defeated him, and I became the chairman of the Democrat newspaper chapel. I was 25 years at that time, and I was also the youngest chairman of any NUJ chapter in northern Nigeria.
Wow.
So, but invariably, I had to join the news because I felt they were starting something new. And I trusted the people behind the news unflinchingly. So I joined the news, and I became the Akano correspondent, and I worked for the news until 2013. They took me out of Kano and made me editor of the evening paper, Nigeria's famous evening paper at that time, the PM News. And I was editor of PM News from January 15, 1999 to August 1, 2005.
Wow.
When I was promoted again, and I became the editor of the news magazine. I remained editor of the news magazine, and I rose to become the number 3 man in the company.
Wow.
And I left the news magazine on May 30, 2013, before I joined the TVC and I became an emergency broadcaster. It had never been my plan to become a broadcaster.
A broadcaster.
But fate willed. Fate willed that I will end up a broadcaster. And that's where I am today.
Wow.
I thank God exceedingly for bringing me here and making me much more famous than I could ever have been as a print journalist. We took many risks as print journalists, but TV brings greater fame, no doubt about it. But I would say I made much more sacrifices for Nigeria as a print journalist.
Print journalist. All right, sir. Wow, what a! I mean, we are just enjoying ourselves this evening. Many people are joining us. If you have just joined us, we want to welcome you. You are welcome to such an enlightening session this evening. Don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about what is happening and let them also come and glean from this amazing mind. The next thing we want to ask you, sir, is the Nigerian story. There's so many questions that people have sent my way that I'm sure people are also going to be typing up. From the time we gained independence to where we are now, you've been just right in the thick of things as touching news. I'm sure that, I mean, you've entered into several corridors. You've been privy to print many standout as a print journalist, many standout articles, been privy to so many things. And what we want to ask you as we kick off this next set of very deep questions is the Nigerian question and Nigerian potentials. Are we where we're supposed to be, and why not?
Well, I would say we are so far away from where we should be. If we look at, we'll go down memory lane, bearing Nigeria history in mind. Just after independence, we were in the class of Brazil, Singapore, Malaysia, and India, and several other countries of that class. Some of the countries that make the what you call BRIC these days, they were countries that Nigeria were on the same pedestal with. But today, everyone appears to have left Nigeria behind. When you look at our country, you see a country that is suffering from failed leadership. You see a country that is difficult for you to publicly proclaim your pride in it. Starting with our airport, you are coming into Nigeria. What you begin to see will put you to shame. I'm happy that the former governor of Lagos State decided to put an end to one of the things that used to give us shame, the road leading to the airport.
To the airport, yeah.
That road has been constructed, yes.
Yeah.
The gateway, the major gateway to our country, is being constructed now. It's walled on both sides. It's looking like something of international standard. But that is just one of the things that will naturally put you to shame when you come into our country. Then from the airport, the services available, the quality of service, the way people begin to ask you for money as soon as you set your foot on our country, you then begin to wonder, what's going on? What's going on? You see smaller countries. You look at their airports, you tell yourself, what's going on here? Look at Ghana, for example, see what they've done with their airport. Because when you are coming into a country, it leaves a lasting impression. Then harassment by security operatives and the rest. so many things are wrong. We've been privileged by God to have all kinds of mineral resources that could make a country great, but we've never been lucky with good leadership. Because you look at a country like Singapore, what is it that they have? We have what they do not have in abundance. The difference maker is the quality of leadership. Nigerian leaders are extremely, extremely selfish. They think about themselves alone. They do not think about the country. Someone once told me, someone who was in the Senate once told me that, look, Nigeria is a buffet. It is at a buffet that you see people who are truly greedy. People fill their plates with food that they will never be able to finish eating. So that was his metaphor for Nigeria, that everyone simply wants to eat the national cake, demonstrating their gluttonous tendencies in the process. No one truly loves the country amongst these leaders. So, and if we do not have a succession of good leadership, maybe 3 or 4 cycles of good leadership, there's no way we can turn the corner. Around the country, everything happening suggests that we are moving from bad to worse, and we could actually get to what? Security has collapsed. Education, badly funded, is almost collapsing. Nigerians are leaving their country. I've seen Nigerians who are privileged to have good jobs in this country. Yet, some of them earning more than 1 million a month. Yet they've chosen to relocate to Canada and other places. We should tell you that most Nigerians to will to our people is 5,375 megawatts. Yet this is a country that has the capacity to generate 12,000 megawatts. But we've been only able to serve our people 5,373 megawatts. If we try to go beyond that, we will suffer system failure. Why? Because of years of neglect of transmission lines. So the transmission lines cannot evacuate the quantum of electricity that our power plants have the capacity to generate. Then you look at a country like South Africa. South Africa generates and wields in excess of 40,000 megawatts, relying on coal. Brazil, that used to be on the same level with Nigeria
in the 60s,
just after independence. Brazil is capable of generating more than 100,000 megawatts, relying exceedingly on hydro. We have water wasting away in our country. We can come up with many hydro plants, but we are relying on thermal stations. We are relying on
many dilapidated.
Yeah, some of them are. Look at Kainji, for example, with an installed capacity of 700 megawatts. It can barely do half of that now. We are relying on thermal stations. We have just 3 hydro plants now. Kainji, Jeba, and Shiroro. And what can that give us? So many Nigerians, it's difficult to do business in our country because you won't get regular electricity supply. Many people have gone to Ghana. Why are Nigerian businesses thriving in other African countries? It's because the conditions precedent for success of businesses are just not here. They are just not here. When you see the other day, the late Olowude, who was the vice chairman of IGI, he went to Ghana. And within 1 year, IGI was so successful that Olowude asked for another license to start a new insurance company. Nigerians are go-getters. Nigerians are very hardworking. Nigerians are creative. You can see what is happening.
Extremely.
You can see what is, yes, you can see what is happening now in Kenya. Kenyans are worried that Nigerian banks are taking over their country. After Access Bank bought one of the biggest banks in Kenya, Nigerian banks taking over our country, taking over our banks. That's to tell you that the can-do spirit of the Nigerian, if it is aligned with good leadership, we will go very far. But we've never been lucky with good leaders. We've never been lucky with good leaders. So that's why I say we are not where we ought to be. I can give so many examples covering different spheres of life, but we won't live here today.
I know.
That's why I merely use the example. You ask me in terms of electricity supply, we are not where we should be. More than 45% of Nigerians don't enjoy electricity every day. Only about, let me say, more than half of Nigerians sleep in darkness every day. More than half, especially in the rural centers, they don't get electricity supply at all. The average electricity supply that Nigerians get these days is about 3,000 megawatts. What can we do with 3,000 megawatts? Just 3,000 megawatts. And most times, even the power plants are down. Last Saturday, about 7 power plants out of 27 were down, were not working, either due to gas constraint or other problems. So how can we make a headway as a country? Everyone wants a slice of the action. He wants to steal out of the country, out of the resources of the country. So we are blessed with resources, but not blessed with good leadership. That is the truth.
Okay. You know, as you were talking, sir, I have one or two friends that are discos,
Yes.
and when we discuss, I mean, as in that are really there in the power sector. I had one of them on the show some weeks ago, and they talk about the frustration that they obviously that they encounter in trying to do all that they can do, and then the frustration that comes, the regulations, all kinds of restrictions that hinder them from really running the business in the light of what they believe that they are able to do. You know, we have the Keja plant there, the Egbe plant, but with your exposure and all the people that you get to talk to, the people that you know in the corridors of power, what is our way forward?
In what area specifically?
What is our way forward in leadership? Because I know from my readings and from my discourse, I know, for example, that you are, trying to find the way that I put it. I know that you are even close to the current president. And so in this light of leadership that we're talking about, and I was discussing with a friend the other day, we were having such a heated discussion that I've always said, even from my youth age to my university days, that our problem remains leadership, which is what you have cataloged now. And so the friend was arguing that, that even if I get there and I have some fantastic ideas that they see that perhaps I have and all that there are always elements within the system that they are just there to sabotage the system.
Yes, that's what happens all the time. You see, we must admit that most governments, when they come into office in Nigeria, they start well. Most governments start well. But the problem is, after a while, they begin to lose steam. Because those who do not mean well for the country, it doesn't take so long before they hijack the leadership.
But my question remains, why, sir? Why is that persistent and continuous all the time? And that continues to be my frustration, that I believe that somehow the leadership should be able to drive as much as possible and still get things done. So that remains my own argument, that the leader should somehow be able to circumvent the system and still be able to get things done.
Yes, that's how I feel too. But if the leader has not got the strong political will, it's going to be difficult for him to get a lot of good things done. A leader must be strong, must be focused. Nigerian leaders lose focus midstream. So if you are the sort of person given to taking his eyes off the ball, you are not going to achieve your aims. Even Babajide as a military president, he started well, and Nigerians were hailing him. But he ended up badly. And the current government too, when you see, bear in mind how it's been overwhelmed by security problems. You bear in mind how it is struggling to manage the economy, how it is struggling to keep the currency stable. You will see clearly that it is doing way worse than it was doing in his first year in office, which aligns with what I said earlier, that Nigerian leaders always start well and end badly. Because with the passage of time, the selfish individuals that they allow to come around them, they hijack them, they get them to lose focus, they get them to focus on personal interests rather than the collective interest. So ultimately, the people suffer. And they are doing all that just so that they can continue to make money off the people in government. So the rest of us do not matter to them. So this is the thing. It takes strong leadership. I'm seeing the Ghanaian president, for example, providing strong leadership. Occasionally, I see those signs. That is the sort of thing that I want to see in my country. But unfortunately, leadership is a very, very big problem for us. And there's no way a government that does not believe that education should get a good chunk of the budget of the country, you can hardly say that that government is forward thinking. Because what can we do if we can't give our people good education? The young people, for example, they've got the brain. There are scientific geniuses amongst our young people. All that is important is for us to feed on their ingenuity and their sense of industry. But that's not happening. That's not happening. We need good leadership. Good leadership turned the UAE to what it is today.
Very, very true.
Because I can tell you that the Nigerian Airways. The Nigerian Airways used to be among the best in the world.
That's right, sir.
To the point that Emirates, at a point, the Nigerian Airways was said to have even, when Nigerian Airways had about 17 aircraft or so, the Emirates had just 3. But you can see where Emirates is today.
Is today.
Yes. Ethiopian Airlines used to do a C check here in Lagos. Today, all our airlines, they go to France and some other countries in Europe to do their C check.
Okay.
When airlines like Emirates, like Ethiopia, used to do it, what we have, what the hangar that Arik here uses today used to be the place where Ethiopia Airlines used to do their C check in Nigeria. We had everything, but we frittered the glory that God gave us, and today we are a laughing stock in the community of nations.
So from independence to now, which government stands out for you in terms of development, in terms of reaching out to the populace, in terms of infrastructure? Which government would you say? I know, I don't know if you're able to answer that, but which government would you say stands out for you?
In terms of infrastructure, I think in terms of our infrastructure, Babangida did a good job.
Wow.
In terms of infrastructure, the Babangida regime did a good job.
Wow.
As bad as he was, yes, as bad as he was, Abacha also did well, not so well. But I can commend him for coming up with some iconic structures and all that.
I'm kind of surprised, sir, because you are talking about military rulers here. You are not. You didn't even mention any of the democratic government.
Yes,
wow.
Because even the National Assembly that they use, the Akpo legislative quarters that they eventually sold, these were things that the military handed over to them. The third mainland bridge here in Lagos is the military. The national hospitals, the biggest in Abuja is also a product of military rule. A lot of the military rulers did very well. Audu Bako in Kano, for example. And you go to Kano, you see evidence of good work that Audu Bako did in Kano. The dams, the Nasarawa area, the well-paved roads, and all that. And even some of a few of the projects abandoned. And it's the same thing with a certain governor in Kwara, George Ine. I'm happy that the president just honored George Ine with
one of the rail stations.
One of the train stations. Yes, because George Ine did a fantastic job in Kwara. I don't think there has been any governor that did so well in Kwara like George Agbazika Ine. He's dead now. Yeah. But when you look at, do you imagine that we can do another third mainland at this time? Do you imagine that we can build another third mainland at this time? A lot of the
it's not impossible.
A lot of the things we can't build. We've not been able to build a refinery since 1999. During that period, do you know how many refineries the Saudis have built? Years back, refineries. We can't build a refinery since the advent of democratic rule. We've been buying, we've been importing refined China, and we continue to do that. Why is it difficult to build a refinery? How come the Saudis were able to build a refinery about 3 years ago or so? They delivered 2 new refineries. A country will have up to 18 refineries. We can't have. We do not even have up to 5 refineries.
Effective and working.
Yes. Look at how many refineries are in the state of Texas alone, in the United States. So we are not just ready as a nation. Why do we continue now? If Dangote can start a refinery and it's a refinery that will deliver 650,000 I think 650,000, is this 650,000 barrels a day? I'm not even sure. Yes, if we can build that kind of refinery that is said to be one of the biggest in the world, why can't Nigeria as a nation, a whole nation,
the government
build one? Because we prefer to import and make money off it. There's been a lot of corruption around subsidy payment.
Wow. There's so many things we still want you to get on with tonight within the time that we have. Of course, we know that you have several other things lined up, but we cannot but have you. I think we. Wow. Wow. Wow.
I mean, 60,000 liters a day.
Can you hear me, sir?
Nothing stops us. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Okay. We can have you with the grace that you have, with the scope of knowledge about national security and what have you. How are we faring with security? I mean, what has happened over these last few years has just been so, I mean, to use the word, beyond crazy. The amount of people that have been slaughtered, and we're wondering what is happening.
Well, we are seeing a level of insecurity never before seen in the history of our country. Especially armed banditry. There are so many areas literally left ungoverned in our country. Zamfara State in the northwest, Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Kaduna. If we do not rise to the occasion and save people in a lot of those communities, is going to lead to serious food security in our country. Because you go to Sokoto, some of the local governments, Isa, like Rabah, which is the birthplace of the late Sardauna of Sokoto, Ahmadu Bello. These are places, you go to Sabonbrine, also in Sokoto. These are places where bandits are running riot, killing people, killing people for fun. And we have not been able to do anything about it. Then you go to Zamfara. The new governor of Zamfara decided to engage the bandits. He negotiated with them with the support of the Inspector General of Police.
Negotiated.
People said, why? Yes, with bandits. People said, why? Why should you do that? He said, because I'm powerless. We have supported the armed forces the best way possible. We bought vehicles for them. We've given them money, but they can't stop the killing of our people. So I then had to negotiate. To kill our people in all of those places. Initially, people thought it was related to gold mining. I said at that time that it had nothing to do with gold, because there are local governments in Zamfara where there is not an ounce of gold, where they've not found a streak of gold, yet they kill people for fun there. I told them this has nothing to do with gold. And I've been proved right, because in spite of the ban on gold prospecting, they are still killing people. Now you go to Katsina, the home state of the president, at least 12 local governments. At least 12 local governments are being attacked by bandits. It got to a point that the district heads of those 12 local governments went to see the emir of Katsina and told him, look, we are going to abandon our towns because of insecurity. Just similar to what is happening in Borno State. Many of the emirs have fled their kingdoms and they are taking refuge in the state capital. So that is that. Kaduna banditry has become something that our people are forced to get used to. They are killing people, raping people, raping people's wives in their presence, stealing people's cattle. And you go to Niger. Niger State is where you have the headquarters of the Nigerian Air Force fighter jet, the Alpha jet. Their headquarters is in Kainji. But armed bandits are regularly terrorizing people in some local governments in Niger State, like Kaga, like even Shiroro. Shiroro, where we have the Shiroro, where we have the dam. Bandits are operating in broad daylight. Some of these bandits have kind of assumed ownership of some communities. And they operate with reckless abandon without any care in the world. When we get to Borno State, Boko Haram continues to kill people. They've now resorted to kidnapping our people, especially along the Maiduguri-Monguno highway. They kidnap our people, they kidnap soldiers, and then ask for ransom. And if you don't pay ransom quickly, they will execute the captives. It happened last week. They executed those caregivers, and because they wanted ransom, and nobody was forthcoming to negotiate with them. And the danger in negotiating with them is that once you give them money,
you will have some more.
They then go and buy sophisticated weapons in the black market with the ransom that you have paid. So
and
government is reluctant
and get worse.
and the Swiss government. You know, the release of the Chibok girls was down to negotiation using third parties. But government is reluctant to do that these days because they become stronger. We negotiated, we released some of their bomb makers to them in custody in exchange for release of those Chibok girls and some money. Now, what did we have? These guys became stronger. So government is reluctant to negotiate with these Boko Haram fighters anymore. And they are trying to show that they remain strong. You can see that they are constantly ambushing soldiers, attacking soldiers in their army bases. And anyone who says that Boko Haram has been defeated must be an extremely dishonest person, because there is no sign that the enemy has been defeated. The enemy still retains the capacity to inflict bloodshed on our communities and our people. There are some local governments that you do not even have Nigerian people present in. They fled. Many Nigerians are taking refuge in Cameroon. Many are in Niger Republic. I can tell you that the governor of Borno State went to Niger Republic to distribute palliatives to citizens of the state, because those people no longer find their own communities safe enough. So they are taking refuge in Niger Republic. There are some Nigerians, especially those of them from Kalabalge local government in Borno State, who have fled to Cameroon. Their own country is no longer safe for them to live in. So this is the thing. Hundreds of communities have been abandoned. People do not live in them anymore. You will find a situation in which between Maiduguri and Monguno is a distance of about 185 kilometers. But there are only 3 towns, 3 communities in the whole of that stretch. In the whole of that stretch where people are resident.
They fled.
All the other people have fled. You go to Monguno local government. All the other communities in Monguno local government, nobody is living in them except Monguno town. You know, the hometown of the Borno State governor, his hometown is called Zulum. Zulum, the hometown of the Borno State governor, is located in Monguno local government of the state. Since 2014, nobody has lived inside that town. I'm saying this with a high sense of responsibility. Nobody has lived inside that town. And there are so many like that. Even the late Abba Kyari could not go to his hometown until he died. Because for more than 4 years, his hometown has been unsafe. These are areas where Boko Haram operates with reckless abandon. So if you value your life, you don't get close to those areas.
I mean, I continue to be short of words. The more I follow what is happening, and it's just.
Since 2014, the Borno State governor has not gone to his village.
Wow.
Say that to anyone. It's a fact. And it's not the only one. Senator Kyari has not been to his hometown since 2014. Many of the federal lawmakers from Borno State, they can't go to their hometowns, except they are prepared to die. So is that an enemy that has been defeated?
So how do those in the helms of power, how do they sleep? And how, I mean, all this is happening and all the service chiefs are still there, they're still getting paid.
We have we have appealed to them to let the service chiefs go, so that at least we can have new ideas. But the president continues to hold on to them. By law, he cannot extend their tenure twice. So he knows that he cannot extend their tenure. So he's not talking about extension anymore. Since October last year, the extension that he gave them had expired. But it's not just talking about it anymore. Nobody can explain why this is happening.
So three more questions, sir, before we let you go. Okay. And one of them is why is there always an annoying quietness from the presidency regarding many things that are happening in the country? I just can't figure out, when things are happening, there is no constant report of the state of insecurity. This is what we are doing. This is how many people have been killed. How come there is no proper reporting of the state of the union? I just don't understand that. Then a lot of people are asking that they want you to talk about NDDC. How come there is a perpetual silence to all these things?
We could be experiencing. I supported the president from the beginning, but some of the things happening, I can't explain. When the president in his June 12th speech said that the communities occupied by Boko Haram had been reclaimed and that the people are returned to their homes, I came on air and said, Mr. President, if they told you the people are returned to their homes, they merely lied. And 23 IDP camps in Borno State alone. 23 IDP camps. So who is occupying those IDP camps? Everybody had returned home. I then said, okay, I told the correspondent to go to the 4 biggest. The biggest of them all is the one in Monguno, because most of the people in Borno North, that's where they are. Because most of Borno North is not safe. It is an area that Boko Haram dominates. So a lot of the people there are in the Monguno IDP camp. So it's the biggest, with more than 1 million people in the IDP camp. So you then have other IDP camps, small IDP camps, Dalori 1 and 2, which is located just after the University of Maiduguri. Dalori 1 and 2. In fact, Dangote helped to construct the Dalori 1 and 2. There are people, so many people in Dalori 1 and 2. There's another one that is called Teachers Village. The accommodation was initially meant for teachers, but with no place to keep these IDPs, the Teachers Village that was meant as a form of reward for teachers is where displaced persons are being kept. Anyone listening to me who is familiar with Borno State will know where all of these places are. So how can people be in IDP camps? We still have up to 23 IDP camps in Borno State alone, and the president announced that people had left for their homes. So it's either the president gets misled all the time, or that on his own, he just chose to say what he felt will make Nigerians happy. But it is only Nigerians who do not know the truth who will be happy. Nigerians who know the truth can't be happy. And we have reached the point that we shouldn't just simply say what people will be happy to hear. We should just say the truth. just say the truth.
If you were the chief security advisor, sir, what would you advise? If the president, the chief security advisor tomorrow?
I will completely reject the architecture in our country. Complete reject, because what we have now is not working. It's not working at all. And I will invest tremendously in weapons for the armed forces. The soldiers don't have enough weapons. They can't complain. If they complain now, Burate will put them on trial. They can't complain. But the truth is, soldiers who confide in some of us, they say it, that we don't have enough weapons. There are some army brigades where you find that their vehicles are already grounded. So how do they chase the enemy? How do they go on the offensive? That's why the Nigerian army has become a defensive force, always waiting to be attacked before it retaliates. And we invest heavily on equipment because we never knew a day like this would come. We were not investing on the army, on the armed forces for years. But now war has buy weapons to do this, to do that. So I will invest heavily on the armed forces. I will ask for help wherever we can defeat Boko Haram if we get the support of our neighbors, especially Chad. Of the achievements, they are jealous. Chad did an excellent job the other day, but we are jealous. They started. They were the ones encouraging the terrorists. Oh, that used as refuge for the terrorists. How about our own country? Are they not here? Present in our country? Boko Haram, they allow Boko Haram to settle country. Did they not occupy 17 local governments in Borno? If we get, they are not spirits. If I'm the president, I will, all those who had been commander of Operation Lafia Dole and former operations heads of the police, I'll bring them under one roof. I'll pick their brains. Gentlemen, what is the way forward? What do we do? There's no way that all of those people will not be able to come up. Yes. There's just no way. They've seen it before. They've seen it all. We are just not doing the right thing. Everybody is chasing money. More questions for me?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, questions.
People are asking that they want you to talk about, I mean, people are the disgrace that is happening with NDDC.
Well, the truth is, when they decided that the Minister of begin to supervise the NDDC with that idea, I said no, that this was not the right thing to do. I knew that there will be problems. We can see that the minister was not qualified ab initio to even organize an audit of NDDC, because the people who are supposed to reform the place were the same people taking money out of the place. At the point when they were being investigated by the National Assembly, in 6 weeks, they still managed to take 19 billion out of the place. Are those ones reformers?
And no checks and balances?
People are just reckless. There's a lot of impunity. And people want to take money. They do it like their life depends on it. I mean, how can the National Assembly be investigating you? And during that period, you still had the cheek to take 19 billion out of the same NDDC. And you claim that you came to do a forensic audit, you came to reform the place. Yet you are trying to outdo the last management committee. And you can see the game that the minister has been playing. Oh, majority of you lawmakers are the beneficiaries. These are just diversionary tactics. Defend the allegations. The same way that Ngige refused to defend, answer the questions put to him. And all of this is happening because there's no effective supervision. What they have done, the presidency had warned them that they should not even be sacking boards. But they are going ahead to do it, and nobody is punishing anybody. People just believe that they can get away with impunity. As minister, once they throw some information into the air, that Nigerians will be clutching at it, and the real situation, people will not be talking about that one anymore. So people are talking about the fact, oh, National Assembly, they too, they've taken contract. Is that the reason to loot? You must first defend yourself. Once you have defended yourself, then you can talk about other people. That's the way I see it. NDDC has become a cesspool of corruption. And it is not the Ministry of Niger Delta that will reform it. They too are so neck deep in the corruption to be capable of doing any form of reform. No, you should not even saddle them with the, if you want to get one of the international firms, independent international firms, let them do it. You don't saddle a minister who is neck deep in the whole thing, the job of auditing. They're not going to do a good job. I want to do a good job. Get an international audit firm. Let them come and do it. If we too will be comfortable that they will do a dispassionate work.
But the truth is
so it's not enough.
So
I agree with the National Assembly that the NDDC should be returned to the presidency for effective monitoring, and all of those who paid themselves to the point that the person who got the list got 600,000, they should be made to refund the money. Because what were they taking palliatives for? You are not the poorest of the poor. You are not the poorest of the poor. What did you need the palliatives for? Steal money and you grab the opportunity. We can talk about Nigeria for the old day. And most of what we'll be saying will not be things that gladden the heart.
Thank you so much for your time. We can appreciate, believe that perhaps this is one of the many opportunities that we're going to have. Is just, I mean, I've not even touched half of them. And so before you go, because I know there are people, What will be your close? When are we going to have free and fair elections in Nigeria? Of corruption? When are we going to start seeing evidence of change? What are we doing with the endemic, things that are endemic in the system, and all these things put together in one? How can you?
Okay, let me just do it quickly. The system not deliver free, fair, and credible will still be rigged in our country. The current ruling class cannot guarantee good leadership for our country. See how we can get good leadership out of the current crop of leaders. They are way too selfish to think about you and me. They think about themselves alone.
Completely
and anybody who emphasizes self must be selfish. So the way it is, even INEC is not truly independent. INEC is not truly independent. So an agency of government that is not independent cannot deliver free, fair, and credible elections. Can take that to the bank. Politicians will still want to rig elections because we have not made election India, the world's largest democracy. How do they do it? You can't rig an election in India. When they do an election in record time, they will know who has won. You will know who has won. And it is electronic voting. It is electronic voting that they do in India. 100% Indian technology. Why can't we borrow ideas from those countries? Our leaders travel abroad, but they don't go there to borrow the right ideas. That's the thing. They don't go there to borrow the right ideas. Up till now, we can't do electronic voting. The law to make that possible has not been signed because we don't want free and fair elections. We simply want to continue to rig elections. That's so. Under this kind, free and fair elections will deliver the right leadership because leaders will know that if they do not serve the people can easily throw them out of office. But we have a situation in which leaders win elections, whether we like it or not. The that happened in Kogi, leaders win election whether they are popular or not. So you cannot when our elections become free, fair, and credible, we will begin to have the right leaders. Because those leaders will be more accountable to the people. They will know that if they do not serve the people, they will be shown the door. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. Serious about free, fair, and credible elections. We are so barbaric in the way we rig elections. We rig elections with reckless abandon. We roll out guns for the boys to shoot at people who will not vote for us. We still snatch ballot boxes. Do they snatch ballot boxes in ANC lost elections there and they accepted their fate. In some places, we will not agree to lose election in our country. So that is the thing. We are not ready. We're just not ready. Thank you so much. Thank you
so much.
But we are not ready for free and fair elections.
Wow.
We're not ready.
Wow.
When we are ready, we will come up with the structures and the technology that will ensure that no one can rig an election in our country. We will go to South Africa and find out how they manage to do it, that you can't rig an election. We will go to Botswana, a small country, and find out how they manage to do it and elections don't get rigged. We will go to India, the world's largest democracy, and find out how they manage to do elections without elections being rigged. And the result will be out within 24 hours.
God's grace.
Thank you. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
I really want to.
It's been
I really want to go and
having
catch
you.
my
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can you hear me?
Regards to all our people who listen to me today, it's
Thank
been a
you.
very engaging session.
Thank you
More
so
than
much.
1 hour, more than 1 hour in the end.
Yes. I mean,
But I hope we enjoyed ourselves.
we did. We did. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. It's been nice having you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you for the good work you are doing for our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.